These are the plaintiffs, Brenda Madrick and Ruth Crutchfield. Brenda says she hired the defendant, a lawyer, to represent her son who was in jail. And after he went to see him in jail, her son told her he didn't like him and didn't want him to represent him. Her son ended up going to court by himself, and now the defendant, a very sketchy lawyer, won't give them their money back. So they're suing for the $1,500 they're owed. This is the defendant, Casey Bryant. He says he's represented numerous people in the plaintiff's family. The plaintiff signed a contract with him, and he put time and effort into their case. When they asked for their money back, he returned 50% of it and deserves to keep the rest for the work he performed. He's accused of lousy lawyering.
All parties, please raise your right hands.
Welcome back to the People's Court. Next case in the docket, the plaintiff hired a lawyer to represent her jailed son and says the lawyer was sketchy, shows she fired him, but he won't return her retainer. Now the defendant says he did good work and offered her 50% back. It's the case of son of a barrister.
Thank you, Douglas. Okay, Brenda Madrick and Ruth Crutchfield, you are suing Casey Bryant of the Law Offices of Casey Bryant for $1,500, the balance of a retainer fee that you feel he has improperly kept. Tell me what's going on.
Judge Million, on April the 12th, myself, sister, and my mother went to talk with Mr. Bryant concerning representing my son that was at that time incarcerated.
For what?
He had several felony charges.
How many?
3.
What were they?
He had a weapons charge, a drug charge, and I don't quite remember what the third one was.
Okay. Cases that have been pending and then he picked up a new charge?
I'm sorry?
Did they all three, did they surface at once, or was he out on bail on one and then picked up another?
There were KPSs outstanding on many of these cases, but there's 4 felony cases in one county and a DUI in another county. There's 5 total cases.
Okay. 4 felony cases in one county. Which one?
Duval County. In
Florida. And,
yes.
And the 5th case was?
It was a DUI in Nassau County, which is just north.
All right. So what happens? How do you get his name?
One of my sisters recommended him that he worked with a nonprofit agency often.
Okay.
And she recommended that we speak with him.
Okay.
We did that. And on that date, we talked about his fees. And he worked with me on being able to pay, the total balance. And when I signed the contract, it was on that contingency that they would be able to work together. Well, my mother went ahead and wrote a check for the deposit that he was asking.
Why didn't you just have him meet your son before hiring him?
Well, he didn't roll like that.
Well, you didn't roll like that either. I mean, yeah, he didn't roll like that. He wants your $3,000. I know why he didn't. I'm asking you why you didn't, because if it's so important to you that they mesh, which of course is important, why would you hire first and ask questions later?
Well, if it had been myself writing the check, yes, I would have.
Well, but your mother's next to you, and your mother's doing this for you as a favor. Your mother's doing this at your instruction. It's not your mother doing it.
Yes,
you're calling the shots here. You're trying to protect your son. You've kind of sucked your mother into helping you protect your son. And writing this big check. So it's your call. But what happened? You just weren't thinking? You were just desperate? You were scared? You were what?
Well, you don't
all of those.
My mother what to do, so.
Your mother what? You don't tell your mother what to do? Oh, okay, so I got it all wrong?
No, and she really wanted to help her grandson.
Right. So. And so was someone else representing your son at that point?
Yes, he had an attorney, but it was court appointed. And
he didn't like him.
He did. He liked him.
Well, why are you guys rushing out and going to hire somebody who's charging you money when you got one that the rest of us are paying for?
I just wasn't very comfortable with a court-appointed attorney.
Why? Because they're free?
Well, not so much as that, but I didn't think that they would put their best foot forward.
Why? Because they're free to you? Because they're not free. They're charging. They're just not charging you. They're charging. Yes. Well, I guess they're charging you when you pay your taxes, because that's government money that's paying for it. So if you're paying your taxes, they are charging you. They're definitely charging me. Are they charging you? Right. Well, they're not charging you. You're not in Florida. But all right. All right. It's just, I was a prosecutor for many years and I worked with public defenders, and some of the best lawyers I ever litigated against were public defenders by choice, not by, I can't get a job, So it's just kind of, it's more like what you were saying in this courtroom, which is, you want to make sure it's a good fit and a good lawyer.
Yes.
So what ends up happening? You go to see Mr. Bryant, and Mr. Bryant, you obviously you guys like him because you hire him, you sign a contract, and you give him $3,000, and you work out a payment plan to finish paying him. $5,600 was the.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, and then what happens?
He said that day, it was on a Friday. He said that he would visit my son that day, and he did not. Finally, Mr. Bryant went to see him on that Monday, and that Tuesday, my son called me and told me he didn't like Mr. Bryant, that he felt that Mr. Bryant was trying to be someone that he wasn't.
How?
And he said he was trying to act black when he's not black.
Oh, okay.
Those were my son's words now. So.
Okay. Well, that's very telling. That's a little food for thought. Go on.
Well, he wasn't comfortable with that, and he said that he didn't want him. Now, I called him first, and I spoke with Mr. Bryant. I told him my son didn't like him, that his exact words.
When did you call him?
On Wednesday. Okay. My son called me Tuesday evening. I called Mr. Bryant Wednesday. And I told him my son didn't like him. He didn't want him. And I also emailed him that same day, that conversation he and I had.
Can I see your email?
You can.
Okay. You went to see him on the 15th?
Yes.
Okay. And you got hired on what day?
The 12th.
Okay. And did you represent to them you were going to see him the same day?
Your Honor, I had every intent. I had to get the discovery on 4 separate felony cases from the attorney so I could intelligently speak with Mr. Crutchfield about these cases instead of merely going in there and doing
So
a cursory
basically what we
handshake.
have is they hire you on Friday, you see him on Monday, they fire you Wednesday. And you have apparently, he did return some of the fee, right? How much of the fee did he return?
$1,500.
$1,500. And then you kept the other $1,500.
That's correct.
That you felt you had earned. Tell me, now you have to, as you know, explain to me what you did in the meantime to have earned it.
Your Honor, well, when I first met with Ms. Madrick, I spent a lengthy amount of time with her in my office, along with her mother and Miss Ruth, who I've dealt with on many cases. They've referred other members of their family to me, and I glean that they're satisfied with what it is I've done if they've come to me on this time. And I worked out a payment plan that would fit Miss Madrick's budget. I had originally quoted her more money, but knowing that I had worked for them before and they were repeat customers, I worked out and did a payment plan that extended.
The family discount.
Yeah, it extended.
Do you practice exclusively criminal law?
Exclusively.
Okay, go on.
The payment plan extends until December of this year. And Your Honor, what I did is I did something to help them and get what it is that they wanted done. I obtained all the discovery, release of the client files.
Wait, I want you, okay. You obtained all the discovery from whom?
The court-appointed attorney.
Okay. Do you have the discovery to show me?
Oh, I do, if you'd like to see.
Then what happens? You go to see him on Monday.
Discuss the
You
cases.
act black.
Excuse me?
You act black.
Apparently.
Apparently. What were you trying to be like hipper than, he didn't like it. Don't do it the next time. It backfired. I don't know.
I'll have to curtail that out of the defense strategy.
I don't know. All right. He wanted you to be yourself. It's I think it's fascinating. Anyway, and so what happens?
I spoke with him. I got names and telephone numbers of certain people who would have been witnesses to certain cases. Then I had to file notices of appearances with the court. I had to contact the state attorney, and her opinion was that we have very serious cases. There's 4 felony cases, and it was a total.
Yeah, that didn't need that. You don't need a seance for that one. But anyway, so go on.
It was a total of 7 charges. We have a man that's been to prison 3 times here before he would qualify as a habitual offender.
So, this is interesting. Do you think a court-appointed lawyer works as hard or doesn't work as hard as a lawyer that you would hire? What do you think?
I would hire a lawyer. I think they have more experience, and court-appointed are beginners and first-timers.
Not always. That is not always true. What do you think?
I think that if you would hire a lawyer, they would work harder for you.
Why?
It's America. It's all.
It's America.
Yeah.
Okay. What do you think?
Well, I think if they are passionate about justice, then they will work hard for it.
So a court-appointed lawyer might be more passionate than some guy who's just sitting there looking at his time card.
Right. He would just be seeing dollar signs.
Fair enough. Going inside the courtroom.
So I'm going to take into account the work that was performed, which was the time with the client, the obtaining of the discovery, the reviewing of the discovery, which is really all the discovery there was, incidentally, was just the charging documents, right?
No,
there was no depositions or anything taken yet.
Yeah, there's no depositions.
Right. The conversation with the prosecutor is, I think, the minimus. I'm going to order you to return $750 of the fee. That's my verdict.
There comes the lawyer, so step on in here and pretty much just give me your reaction to this verdict.
Justice denied.
Well, how come you were unable to satisfy these clients then? What happened?
For whatever reason, he didn't like me. It won't be the first time, it won't be the last time that a defense attorney is fired merely because a client doesn't like that person from whatever reason.
All right. Okay. Right down this way. That wraps it up. And come on in here and tell me, you satisfied with what you got out of this?
The decision is the decision. I feel that we should have gotten it all. However, this man shouldn't even be allowed to practice
Why
law.
not?
He's a criminal himself.
Okay, Harvey?
Here's the thing. Even if you sign a retainer agreement, you are allowed to fire your lawyer at any time. Thing is, you have to pay for the work the lawyer does. And that will do it for this case. Litigants for the next case on the way into the courtroom right now.